Good morning. Good morning. I mean, maybe some of you are watching these in the morning. I would hope so, because they're getting published at like 1 o'clock Central Time usually. So please get your rest, besties. Do not be staying up on my account. But the first thing I want to discuss, which isn't even worth it, because I already went back and forth with this person in the comment section. But like, listen. Even though I think that Rachel Reed is a talentless hack, and I don't think that there's going to be much a person could do to dissuade me from that notion, I do understand that y'all are out here eating them up, and I really do love that for you. Again, you're never going to convince me that they're not slop, but I do love that for you. But this person wanted to come into my comment section and try to explain to me what a romance novel is. And listen, I know that I took what looked to be a hiatus for most of the year. I did a January video and I left. But I have been a reader all year. Okay. I've been uploading the reading all year. Behind the paywall, yes, but the reading has happened. I've read a lot of romances this year. I've been making bookish videos for a decade. Now I will say this, that I do prefer a women's fiction to a romance. I still think that some of my favorite, particularly these days, my favorite romances tend to be the ones that the girlies are like, this is not a romance, this is like women's fiction, this is upmarket contemporary fiction. I can 100% hand on a Bible say that were I standing before God, I would be a contemporary girly before I would say that I'm a romance girly. But we're not going to do, though, in 2025, is say that Monty does not read romance. Monty doesn't know what romance is. That Monty didn't like Heated Rivalry because he doesn't understand what romance is. What I can tell you is that Heated Rivalry and Game Changer are plotless books. The books, the plot in that is what is supposed to be the love story, and the love story in both books is lackluster, particularly Heated Rivalry. Now, if you want to come to me and say that you like some of the bantering moments, I can give you that. I think that there is a fun dynamic that is there, but what stops me from fully engaging in that is that, to me, it is all surface. There is nothing. It's very much The Emperor Has No Clothes for both Ilya and Shane. More so Ilya than Shane. Take the back, reverse it. More so Shane than Ilya. And the trope of, like, their tropes, their archetypes is too hollow for me to really engage with it the way that you guys are. And again, I'm not the romance girly. I do not read particularly Harlequin. That's not my lane. I can't say that I read category romances. I think off the top of my head, I don't even know if she's out Harlequin, but Cynthia Williams, I'm pretty sure, is at one of those romance first, paperback first imprints. And both of the books that I've read from Cynthia had plots. They had really good plots. Like, they were not intricate. They weren't, we're not being blown away by them, but there was a structure to them. And you know what? Both of those books also had supporting casts. They had secondary characters that got to do shit. They got to do that added to the story, that made the story a more rich and thriving experience. Heated Rivalry is bland and narrow and entirely too focused for Monty to really care. And I say that as a person that has just spent the better half of the last half of this year reading the Michael Connelly books. And while they aren't romance focused, and they're about as far away from romance as you can get, they're also, I think, a series that is lacking in really rich side characters that, I mean, I can't say that the people in the books aren't meaningful. There are some meaningful tidbits in there, but we really are just kind of locked into Hieronymus and his Vietnam traumas and his dogged determination for whatever he perceives justice to be in a given book that does sort of carry through as like a through line there. So it's not like I'm reading books that don't have side characters that are, that I'm not enjoying, but I am reading things that are good stories. Again, like the craft that is there, the storytelling ability is there. And if I was, up late at night scrolling on AO3, then maybe I would have enjoyed Heated Rivalry. But you know what I wasn't doing? I was not scrolling on AO3. I was not reading. I mean, I was reading it for free because I got it from the library. But I wasn't asking people to pay for that. I didn't put this out in the world expecting to be compensated financially for this endeavor. And, because again, the skill is not there. It's just not. Like, I think we can all like things. I'm sure I like books that y'all are out here calling slop. I said that Silver Elite, which has been dragged to hell and back all year, I said a silly fun time reading that book. Okay, so we all have our slops to bear, our crosses to walk through life with, our books others don't like. But what you're not going to do is come in my comment section and act like I picked up Peter Rivalry and this is my first romance. I'm just totally new to this rodeo and I'm just too scandalized by the sex. The sex is the only thing in that book. And I said it was titillating. I said it was, satisfying. But sex is not a plot, besties. Not it could be, but not in that book. Anyway, let's talk about Nightshade by Michael Connelly, because that is what I actually read today. And I have to say that this is now the 4th series, right? Because you have the Lincoln Lawyer, you have the Harry Bosch, the Hieronymus Bosch novels, you have the Ballard and Bosch novels, and the Jack McAvoy novel. So that's 4 series now. And this is actually 5. Ballard, Lincoln, Bosch, Jack. Yeah, this is 5. The 5th series, Catalina. I didn't like this one. The next book, Ironwood. Oh, let me go over here to my handy dandy list and cross off Nightshade and Suicide Run, because I read that earlier in the month. We didn't talk about it here, but it was a fun little short story collection. So that only leaves Bloodwork, which I do have. And I said it was on the list to get to probably tomorrow, but we'll see if I actually take myself up on that. That leaves Ironwood. Ironwood is going to bring in the mainland, because this is set on the island of Catalina off of the coast of California there. And so here the book opens up and there's a body that is found attached to an anchor out in the bay. And so our sheriff of Catalina Island over here, I think it's actually Avalon is like the city that we're in, Avalon Bay, maybe making that up. But we are in one of the 2 really population centers on the island. And so he's the sheriff. He used to be part of the LAPD, but he got kicked out but he got kicked to the island because his partner maybe looked the other way on some investigation. And while the internal affairs people said, yeah, no, we don't think that's what happened here, they had to reprimand him. And so he got sent out to Catalina to be but he's established nice little life from stuff out there on the island. And so he's in exile over here for looking into shit that maybe he shouldn't be looking into. And, in a Michael Connelly story, the internal affairs is always fucking over somebody, and our protagonist is always looking into shit that he has been told, or she has been told explicitly to not look into, and to just, sit down and do your fucking job. And they're like, no, I'm gonna do somebody else's job in addition to my own. And so he gets because he's the sheriff on the island, he gets called out to the scene. He's like, okay, this is it. Obviously, he's going to hand the investigation over to not the actual LAPD. That sounds so bad. But he will be handing it over to the city side people. They have a name for them in the book. And honestly, I couldn't be bothered to keep that name in my head because I thought it was a little bit silly. I did. Anyway, so they hand it over to the other LAPD that's not him on the island, because he doesn't even have like a lot of officers, and the officers he does have are also similarly situated, where they're there to be rehabilitated, or in the case of one of them, he's there to just kind of like write out whatever lawsuit he has, and then when the lawsuit gets settled or resolved in court, they're gonna fire him. So like, he's not working the best and the brightest of the police, and so he's just like, what am I doing here? So there's this girl who has been murdered, ostensibly, because why else would her body be in the bay attached to an anchor weighed down? But he is not supposed to investigate that. He is supposed to investigate there's like a robbery. I was gonna say like a thievery. That's not really what we want here. It's not, after all that impassioned, I make content for a decade and I can't say the word robbery. Anyway, there's been a robbery at the members only club on the island, and so he's supposed to investigate that. And he soon quickly deduces that these events are linked, and the person who was fired from the members only club and accused of being a thief is the same person who's now at the bottom of the bay. And so he goes on this investigation to figure out who it is. And to be honest with you, it got a little bit too convoluted for Monty. For the first book in the series, this was a lot. Also, I just in my I've not Googled. I don't know how many people actually live on Catalina, but I don't know. It just for this to be the whole series out here on this little island, it didn't really sell me on this was potential. It was a fun excursion, but I don't know if bringing Ballard in to work with this man on whatever they're going to work with in the next book is really going to be all that compelling. I can kind of see the vision because Ballard is a surfer, so she gets to go on a boat. But I don't know if I need to be set up over here. But also, I say this because in this first book, so we have that one girl who's found in the harbor. Then we find out that the mayor is involved, and there is this big conspiracy between the mayor and a gang member who's trying to launder money on the island by setting up legitimate businesses. So they're in cahoots, and then the mayor, then the mobster actually goes behind the mayor's back to the police because he's been recording conversations, and so they're going to use him. They're going to give him a deal, so he's not going to go to prison, which is crazy. And well, it's not crazy because he is bringing down the mayor. But the mayor's been putting hits out on people, and he's also been murdering or slaughtering, I guess is probably the right word because they're not humans. But he's been slaughtering animals to like drive up businesses for one of the mobsters' legitimate business fronts. He's also maybe greasing the wheels so a casino can get put on the island, or not a casino. I think it's actually a Ferris wheel. Ferris wheel can get to the island, which is crazy. Like, how many Ferris wheels does does LA need? Like, how many fucking Ferris wheels near the water do we need? But that was also happening. He also was involved in like a kidnapping plot. Like, it was crazy the number of things that were happening here. And then of course our detective on the island is the one who actually puts together who was the actual killer, because the LAPD and him are kind of butting heads still. They don't really want to work with him, and he's offering them information, but he's also again doing things he's not supposed to be doing. He's ostensibly looking into this robbery, but he's always investigating the murder. Like, the robbery is like such a back burner. Like, it's a complete second thought to this man. So I didn't really connect with him the way that I connected almost instantly with Renee Ballard and Harry Bosch. And I don't even hate him in the fun way that I hate Harry Bosch or Mickey Holler. Like, I'm just very indifferent. This was it was a fine time, but this to me, I think I had the same experience reading Nightshade as I did reading Chasing the Dime or Void Moon, which are the two standalone novels in the overall Hieronymus Bosch universe. And I think this kind of I had a similar feeling to this one, where it's like, this was a fun time, but I don't need to see any of these characters again. Obviously we are, because he's already announced Ironwood, which is coming out next spring, or say May 2026. I will be reading Ironwood because I'm locked into the universe at this point, but I'm not looking forward to future Catalina books the same way I would be looking forward if we were just sticking with Renee Ballard and we're getting an increased, even Maddie Bosch presence. Because I also think that this series needs to kill off Hieronymus at some point. Hieronymus has to die with everything that they've given us about him. And I don't really know if there is a good way for that to happen that's going to feel good to the long-term readership. Because again, like, this is a character that's been running around since the 90s. It's not even that he's elderly at this point and worried that he's fighting all of these various illnesses, but it's just kind of like, what more can this man do? And also, you've had him age. I think there are other long-running literary characters that have, spanned decades, and they just kind of don't age. But Michael Connelly made this conscious effort that both Mickey Holler and Hieronymus are going to have these characters around them that push them so they have to be older. Like, Hieronymus has to have aged because now his daughter is in her early 20s and is not still, a toddler. If I was reading these and it was, still toddler, what's her name? Maddie Bosch. I'd be like, okay, well, then he can keep going. But it's not toddler Maddie Bosch. It's patrol officer Maddie Bosch. So I'm interested to see how this universe continues to develop now that I am, for the most part, caught up. Again, I guess Bloodwork is weird because it's a standalone, but that same character comes back in a major way. So I don't know. I guess it's also a standalone. Whatever. So that's probably, again, it should be what I read tomorrow just because I have the audio. but I might read something completely else. I'm just gonna get to the hotel tomorrow and let what the spirit moves me to pick up. That's what I read. And if I have to read blood work at the end of the month for the patrons for their end of the year reading vlog, then that's just what I'll do for them. But thank you guys for joining me on this journey in the Michael Connelly universe. Hopefully I've convinced at least one of you guys to pick it up. If you want some real quality storytelling and dad fiction, I definitely think it's a good place to start. And if you don't want to get super invested in the universe, I would just read The Poet. If there's only one of these books you're going to read The Poet. I think that it's the perfect standalone. It's a fun, sort of actiony. We're tracking down a serial killer. There's a lot of heart and connection. I just think that that's a really good place to start. And then if you want to, you could just read The Narrows, which is a follow-up, and it follows the same. It doesn't follow all the same players, but it follows a couple of the same players. And then if you only just read the Jack McAvoy books, that's only $3. It's only $3, and it's a fun little time. And if you really like him, then you can read The Proving Ground, which is a Mickey Holler story. But at that point in the Mickey Holler timeline, it's totally fine to just read it by itself. So that is today's video. We'll be back again tomorrow. I'll see you then. Tomorrow's video is going to go up late because I know I don't get off work at the hotel till about midnight, and I'm probably going to have to stay late. So you're probably going to get that video. You might actually get it early Thursday morning just because I don't have to work, so I can just film and edit, and then you'll get a video Thursday morning and Thursday evening, and that's probably what I would expect to happen. Thursday evening's video is probably going to go up late because I'm probably going to watch Thursday Night Football at the restaurant, and that's just how that's probably going to work out. So that would be my guesstimation. So stay safe, stay hydrated. We'll see you guys when I see you, but until then, and until next time, bye.